Okay. So I've been saying that this is a meditation, but I have been talking a lot. So I am going to be better this year about balancing the teaching and the meditation. So we're going to start with the centering. If you will join me, please. Close your eyes, come into your breath. If you'd like to, I like to place my hand just on my diaphragm and on my heart to make sure I'm getting my breath deep into my belly. And I try to take my breath into my back body, into my back ribs to fill my whole torso. So if you will, join me in a nice, deep, collective breath. Breathing into the belly, the chest, the back. Slow exhale, if you will, through the mouth. Good. Another deep breath in. Exhale nice and slowly. Last breath like this, breathing in, nice deep breath. It's almost like we're pushing the breath down into the body. Retain it for just a moment. And exhale slowly. As you breathe into your body, just consciously pull the prana. We have prana surrounding us. We have light particles, divine light particles surrounding us. So if you will, as you take a breath, consciously and mindfully, pull the particles of light that are freely available to you into every cell, into every pore of your skin. It's right there. You just need to consciously pull that in and retain your breath and exhale. Couple more breaths like that, breathing in, pulling the prana, the light, into every cell. Exhale. Good, another breath like that. Prana all around, just one conscious breath. The Buddha said that you can take your breath straight to enlightenment. So simple and so powerful. So consciously breathe. Good. Now, if you will, connect to that sacred soul fire, the middle of your sacred heart space. Breathing in, connecting into your sacred fire, your light that's piped straight from the divine. And as you breathe in, exhale and fan that fire within you like a big ball of sun, expanding it. It starts out like a tiny flame. And as you pay attention and fan that flame, you can just feel it filling up your whole heart, your back, your chest. And as you exhale, feel that fiery ball of light that you are expanding into your head, your arms, the lower part of your body. Use your breath to push that light now, to expand it. Right now, we're working with the golden light from your soul flame. Good. Now send that golden light into your field around you. Feel that golden fire fill up your field, sealing up the edges of your field. And now let's ground that light into the earth as you breathe in. Exhale the light deep, deep through your tailbone, legs, and feet, deep into the earth. It's okay to make some sound to push that prana and that light, grounding it into the earth, grounding you, your physical body, into the lower dimensions. We are multidimensional beings. We are grounding our physical body into the physical earth. Grounding the divine light into the earth, because that's our role as light workers, grounding the light. Once you feel yourself anchored, breathe in those frequencies from the earth. And now, if you will, as you connect to that golden light, send a tether up through the top of your head to your divine source, your ascended masters, archangels, divine beings, or simply to the sun. Sending the connection up. And as you feel yourself lock in to the space above and below, feel a column of light move straight through your spine, connecting you to source, through your heart, straight down into the earth, so completely tethered in this moment. As you feel that golden light radiate in a circle around you, I am that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. So if you will, just bring in the I am consciousness. See if you can hold the consciousness of your tailbone and legs and feet so tethered into the earth as you ground the light into your body, fully embodied golden light body. I am the divine. I am the earth. I am the sacred love. I am, I am, I am, I am. And as you anchor this in, you can just say, and so it is. So it is done. And so I am the light embodied in this earthly human experience. I am. And so it is done. So it is done. So welcome to all of you, both live and on the YouTube recording. It's good to be here with you for this drop-in. We did indeed just drop in. So today's topic is really based on the fact that right now I am graduating coaches and I am launching into another coaching program. And whenever I'm at this point, I am so desiring my own up-leveling as a coach, as a healer. And so when I teach people or launch people into life purpose work, I go through my own why, my own introspection of what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I recommit to my why. And it's in that process that higher consciousness can come in and give me the next level of my evolution and my sharing of this inner alignment path. And so very often someone will ask me, why do you only do level 1? Why do you only do inner transformation intensive, but there's not a lot of additional inner work that I offer? I basically believe that 8 weeks of deep inner alignment and getting all your tools is plenty. Cleaning out the basement, putting out the fires of the trauma packets, getting your toolbox filled, knowing when this hits, when this pain body shows up, knowing your map of your physics. I believe that that's enough. And I believe that once we have that, a hawk just banged up against my window. I'm not sure if that's a sign or a shut up, Kim. I don't know. But what I believe is that most of us have been on our healing path for decades, and once we get ourselves nice and anchored in what our work is as maintenance and how do we recover from this kind of situation and that kind of situation, it's time to pivot into our service, not to distract ourselves from ourselves, but to deepen our human experience and to up-level ourselves in a way that we can't do it by simply looking this way. It's looking at the mirror of me in humanity. And I think as empaths, we tend to isolate ourselves because human interactions start to feel kind of like not as good as it feels like just sitting on my meditation cushion, right? Like I could just be in my bliss. I could literally sit in this chair, which is my meditation chair, and be blissful and interact with my kids a bit, and my life is complete. So that we kind of get to that place. And then I can delude myself into thinking I'm healed and I'm good and I'm ascended and awakened. But I choose not to do that path. I choose to then say, who am I in relation to the mirror of myself through this person, and the mirror of myself through this person, and the mirror of myself through this person? And I can isolate myself to avoid the mirrors, or I can learn a new way to be with other people. I can learn to actually tease my ego and my empathic nature and my projections and my fear of judgments and my judgments and my opinions and my need to fix people because I'm awake and then they should be awake, right? All of these things, these trip ups that we get into trouble with in our interactions. Does that make sense? Do you find that after you get to a certain level of consciousness, it's sometimes harder to be with people, or we want to avoid, or we want to fix them? And so the path of sacred service is the path of transcending the need to judge or fix or have opinions or project ourselves into other people. And that's why the next level of my work is coach certification, because coach certification is very simply put, getting myself out of the way. I have some coaches on here. Do you know what I mean? Getting myself out of the way so that I can be in pure presence, as Eckhart Tolle would say, pure divine presence, sacred presence with someone else. So I can tease all of my mental and emotional activity and vrittis and waves and steady them into my bliss body so I can be a conduit of the divine frequency. Not Reiki style, not channeling, but being so deeply embodied in my heart and in the love that I have for the human being in front of me, and in their potential, their soul's potential, and in being able to hold a space for the ego that's just feeling fragmented, or the soul that's gotten disjointed or disconnected from self, and to be okay with what is. Because here's the thing, this person is probably covered with their own distortions and family lineage karma and confusions and pain bodies and distorted belief systems. And the reason why it's hard to be around them is because of those distortions. If I avoid them, how am I healing the world? If I sit on my meditation cushion and avoid. It's learning how to hold that sacred presence and see their soul and hold the potential for their soul without needing them to change at all in this present moment. And that is easier said than done, because the ego mind always wants to do its thing. When we're in the presence of other people, Vata constitution will go into self-doubt. Oh my gosh, did I say the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? What are they thinking of me? Oh my gosh, are they judging me? Okay, that's where Vata mind will go. Pitta be like, I need to fix this, because if I can fix you, then I'll feel like I can be in your company. And Kapha be like, and can we just love each other? If you can love me, then I can feel loved, and then we can feel, and then it'll feel warm and juicy and it'll be good, right? So doshically, or even astrologically, we're all doing something in our interpersonal relationships. But what if we can just be in the sacred presence of this moment without needing anything or anyone, ourselves included, to change? What if we can actually bring the violet flame to be the basis of that relationship, so that that person in that moment can just feel safe and connected and worthy and loved and seen and divinely accessed in that moment, because that is what provides healing. So when people think, oh, I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to go fix people, I'm going to help people, but it's actually releasing the attachment to fix or help or change, and to be so comfortable in ourselves that we can be in the presence of many vrittis, many mental and emotional waves, many pain bodies, many distortions, and to be the lighthouse of the frequency of the divine in their presence, such that they feel seen for potentially the very first time in decades, if not their whole lives. Because that's all any of us want, is to be loved and seen and valued and cared for. And that is the frequency that we can bring to each other. And then once we can meet each other in that sacred oneness, so I'm going to bring in the New Age spirituality words because they're all true. It's just we haven't learned how to embody them in our human interactions, because there's all of these distortions and interference energy. And instead of being able to connect to their soul, we immediately check right in to their distortions, and we get confused and we think we are their distortions. So can you see how being in sacred service to someone else is our own reflection of where our work is within ourselves? Because it shows, oh, I'm still resonating with that scarcity belief system. Oh yeah, I just went hook, line, and sinker into that. Wow. Let me go in and do my work around my scarcity so that I can be really a pure mirror of their soul. Is this word salad, or does this make sense? Does this make sense? So what does it mean to be in a sacred presence? And why would we even want to do this? When I learned how to do this, at first I was trying to make everybody do law of attraction and fix their lives so everybody could just be happy and get what they want, right? I mean, that's kind of silly as I look back, but 15, 20 years ago, I was attached to my life and my stuff and my people, and I projected I want to help other people get attached to their stuff and people. And that's how I even discovered the inner alignment work, was through that kind of attachment. And then I was shown how to be in a space with someone. And I could do it for my clients, but then the pivot was, how do I do that for my children, who I'm much more projecting into? I'm much more confused about who I am. I'm much more intertwined. So I started to get the lessons on my humanness and what sacred presence, what it means to embody and live this yogic path or this spiritual path, or to be in the sacred heart space, embodied in all the dimensions of ourselves. Because what's funny is in New Age spirituality, you'll hear about the third dimension, which is supposedly bad, and the fifth dimension, which is where we want to be. Have you heard this terminology? Oh, that's so third dimension. We are third dimensional physical realm bodies. We have third dimension. We don't want to disconnect from the third dimension. In fact, what we want to do is integrate the higher dimensions of our consciousness into this very real physical realm experience that we waited in line to incarnate into this body. So I had a spiritual teacher once who said, there are souls lining up to get this physical nervous system experience. I thought that was so funny. I always think about that because that we're sitting here down here on earth going, who the hell would put themselves through this experience? Right? Because we get into our suffering patterns. But it is an extraordinary space to learn who we are, but more importantly, who we are not, what we are not. And if we can tease that out of our interactions and really be, not in a fawning caretaker, let me take care of you, love and light kind of way, but really be embodied in ourselves when we're in the presence of someone else, then they can get a tap into bliss body, that layer that we're all looking for outside of ourselves. They get an experience of being seen and being in themselves, in the presence of another human being. And if someone's got a lot of interference in their field or distortions in their beliefs, chances are those distortions have created so much resistance in their relationships that they haven't gotten a genuine human connection because people are bouncing off of that stuff. And if you think about this from your perspective, if your human relationships have been plagued with all these issues, these family lineage patterns that you feel like you can't get away from, to actually have a moment in the presence of a client without any of that, it is a gift to us who are in service. We get a hit off of the divine light that's available. And that's why I do this. It's not selfless. It's self-full. It's because being in the presence of someone else's soul keeps me in the divine presence all day long. And even if you just have one person that you're holding space for, that sacred, sovereign space for, it almost keeps you on top of your internal game. For two reasons. You clean up your space because you know you have to show up for someone else. That's one reason. You keep your house nice because you know someone's going to be dropping in. I need that actually in my physical realm. Okay, so that's one way. One reason is like your self-care becomes so impeccable because someone's going to be dropping into your fields in a couple of days, and you want to be ready for that. And then the second is because when you can take your backpack of my issue with my 18-year-old who wasn't filling out her college essays the way I wanted them to, right, or whatever, and I actually put that on the shelf, and I put me and all of Kim's stuff on the shelf, and I pivot into this deep sacred space with someone else, I get worked on as a byproduct of holding the space for someone else. So my inner work starts to change. It's not that I'm not working on myself, but my work is like, oh, I'm afraid that person's not going to get their healing. How am I not surrendering that to the divine? How am I wearing their backpack? When did they put their backpack on and I took it on? They took their backpack off and all of a sudden I picked it up inadvertently. So my inner work starts to change because I have an awareness of this really new relationship and the patterns I'm starting to do within my head with this new relationship as I'm serving this person. So then every human becomes a mirror of my unhealed pieces. So that's why I recommend we pivot now and be of service. Why not spread the light? Why not be in our bliss body as much as we can? Why not use that as a way to be in sacred community and connection? And in the meantime, get the light flowing through me. Whatever light comes out through us gets stamped with our sacred frequency. So if you've heard me talk about lineage karma and the law of the circle, you know that light comes in, it gets stamped with my lotus flower, it goes out into the world. If it goes out as fear, it will come back to me as fear. If it goes out as love and service and bliss, it comes back to me manifold as love and bliss. So the karmic effects of really being a pure vessel versus needing to give everybody advice and trying to fix them and being fearful. Does that make sense? So that's why this sacred service is really more about being in the divine presence and the container. People ask me, well, why can't I just become a healer? Why would I have to become a coach before I become a healer? Because you cannot really go into someone's trauma packets and start really cleaning up those seed experiences unless you are holding mad sacred space with someone. Pure space, sovereign space. And seeing all the miracles that happen in that space without doing the fancy footwork of soul retrieval, by simply holding the space. Because really the space, when we pull ourselves out of that space and we allow it to be, the divine fills that space and does its work in conjunction with our client's soul. So what if we were to actually use our service, not as a way to fix ourselves by fixing other people, but as a yoga teacher or as a Reiki practitioner or as a coach or as a healer or whatever we have. And we really just begin to fill that space with the sacred light or the sacred love that we are in practical, systematic ways. Does that make sense, you guys? I don't know if this is landing, but what I want to do is impart to you that we can do this at any point in our lives with any people. And then our interactions become so rich because we're not judging or analyzing or wishing anything would be different. We learn how to be the container and the conduit at the grocery store, at that stupid dinner party that we got dragged to, at the kids' open house. We start to be that sacred space in the world. And then what happens is people are magnetized to that, which is just a beautiful byproduct. And instead of avoiding people, we find delight in just being around all of those little quirky belief systems. And we have almost a lightness and a curiosity and a playfulness about this human condition that we all have. Like, oh, wow, look at how they put that together. Oh, scarcity. And then the powerlessness. Oh, send some violet flame and hold that space as they ramble on. And I'm just going to love that in them rather than want to bat it away because it feels terrible. Do you see the shift in our consciousness in our human interactions? So that is the vision that I hold for all of us. And that's the ripple of just being. So many people are like, I got to find my life purpose. I'm like, dude, just connect to your heart and you are your life purpose. You are the light. But we as a society have been like, well, it has to be my job and my full-time income. Maybe. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe just being the light, living life as a practiced, anchored into our sacred heart. Because there's so much spiritual information in the upper dimensions of our consciousness and the upper dimensions of our meditative space. And then that often is not woven in to our day to day. And I think it's the intersection point of those that is really where life gets juicy and light and fun and playful. So I hope there's a reason. I hope there's a nugget that got planted, or a seed that got planted for you to just observe your relationships and the spaces. Whether you work at Target at the checkout counter and say, oh, this is meaningless. See if you can drop into what meaning would look like at the Target checkout counter. And I'll leave you with that today. And I love you. And I wish you so many blessings.